Cycle touring is one of the most affordable ways to see the world on a budget. But if I were to stay in a hotel or an Airbnb every night, my savings would be quickly drained. So, us cycle tourists like to opt for a less than luxurious option: stealth camping.
Stealth camping. Camping out of sight on land not designated as a campsite, especially on land not used for habitation, agriculture, etc.
By roughing it a little bit, cycle tourists manage to keep costs low on long expeditions. And with the freedom to camp anywhere in the world, knowing that you've got a home in your backpack, it's honestly a no-brainer. In this video, I'm going to be detailing 3 different methods of stealth camping. And at the end, I want to hear from you. Which one would you choose and why? I'll be reviewing the tent, the Bivy Sack, and the hammock. Each one of these is going to be paired with at least a sleeping bag. I'll also be pairing a sleeping pad and or a tarp, depending on the method, but I'll explain that as we go. Each one comes with distinct advantages and disadvantages. I'll be going over each of them in 5 different categories: comfort, space saving, weight, setup and takedown time, and finally, stealth. For each type of camping, I'll be giving them a star rating in those 5 categories. I'm going to give them a 1, 2, or 3 stars. 3 stars means it's the best of the options, 1 star means it's the worst of the options. So it's a rating system. Just because something has 1 star doesn't mean that it's completely terrible or useless in that category. It just means that the other options did better. But with that out of the way, let's begin. When you think of camping, tents are probably the first thing that come to mind. You've probably slept in one of these at some point in your life. They're spacious and roomy, and with the ability to add an additional rain fly depending on weather, they make fantastic options for comfortable camping, which is why I give it 3 stars when it comes to comfort. In my opinion, the tent's greatest failing is in space saving. Those long, awkward poles just don't pack down very small. In addition, you need to add a tarp to act as a ground cloth, in addition to a sleeping bag and a sleeping pad to make this one viable. For space saving, I'm giving it a 1 star. That leads me into weight. The tent is the heaviest option, unfortunately, clocking in at 5 pounds 5 ounces, which is still incredibly light, but it does happen to be the heaviest out of the 3 options I'm presenting today. Setup and takedown time aren't the best either, because you've got all those extra pieces to work with, the tarp, the sleeping pad, and the rain fly, depending on the weather. It just takes a lot longer to set up and take down, which gives it another 1 star. As far as stealth, I give it 2 stars. The shark butt gray color blends in super well with foliage, grass, leaves, trees. Unfortunately, it is a little bit taller, a little bit boxier, so a little bit easier to see, but the color blends in perfect. Next up is the Bivy Sack. I was recommended the Bivy Sack by a retired veteran in a Dick's Sporting Goods parking lot. I want to put forward the disclaimer that I've never actually camped out with a bivy. It just was never an option I knew about until just recently. But I've read up on them and I feel like I've got a pretty good idea of how they work. As far as comfort goes, I'm giving the bivy a 1 star. It lays down on the ground kind of like a body bag, I guess. And with that cloth laying on your face, I can't imagine it being very comfortable late at night. I also hear that condensation can tend to build up, making these a little bit uncomfortable. But as far as space saving goes, the bivy sounds fantastic. Without those poles in the way, one really saves a lot of space. They also are able to subtract the tarp because the bivy is already water resistant in and of itself. So I give the bivy 2 stars. When it comes to weight, the bivy clocks in at 4 pounds 9 ounces, which is really light. In fact, it's the second lightest on this list, earning it 2 stars in that category. Moving on to setup and takedown, without a doubt, the bivy reigns supreme. You just throw it out on the ground and roll it back up when you're done with it. It's one of the fastest things I've ever set up or taken down myself. I give the bivy 3 stars when it comes to setup and takedown. The bivy also is fantastic when it comes to stealth, being super low to the ground, making it low profile, and that green camo color. I can't imagine it's going to be easy to be seen in one of these things. The bivy is awesome for a quick getaway. I give the bivy 3 stars when it comes to stealth. Moving into option 3 is the hammock. The hammock is a lovely way to sleep on a temperate night. But unfortunately, on a colder or a rainy night, it's not as great because it doesn't provide as much coverage, even with a tarp. Because of that, I give the hammock 2 stars for comfort. Space saving and weight are fantastic when it comes to the hammock. Almost every part of the hammock folds down super nice and neat. The straps, the rope, the tarp. It also happens to be the lightest option. With the elimination of the sleeping pad from the setup, we clock in at 4 pounds 1 ounce, which is insanely light. Setup and takedown with the hammock is hit or miss. It really depends on the weather. On a warm night, you throw 2 ropes up on a tree and you're done. Easy peasy. But on a colder night, you have to set up that tarp, which involves tying a rope between 2 trees, staking down the ends. It's a lot more difficult. So I give the hammock a 2 whenever it comes to setup and takedown time. It really does depend, but under the right circumstances, it can be the fastest or it could be the slowest. That brings us to the stealth of the hammock. The hammock can be a little bit hard to hide, especially in urban areas. You need to find 2 fixture points to hang it between. And if you need to throw up the blue tarp, you're a dead giveaway. So for that, it earns 1 star in the eyes of stealth. So there you have it, 3 different methods of stealth camping. Which one would you choose? Comment down below and let me know. Personally, I'm going with the Bivy Sack. Like I said, I've never camped in one before, but it seems like the best option given what I'm doing. My pack is so small. Those unicycle bags just don't carry much. So I need to be able to pack down small, and the Bivy is fantastic for that. Furthermore, it provides decent protection from the elements, something that the hammock just doesn't do as well. I know I said the Bivy does lack in the area of comfort, but my hope is that by the end of the day, I'll be so tired from cycling so much that I'll be able to sleep on a pile of gravel. So hopefully the comfort doesn't happen to be too much of an issue. The Bivy is also super low profile, and with it, I have confidence that I'm not going to be kicked out of very many places because it's going to be so much harder to find me in the first place. The Bivy's the choice for me, but what would you choose? And one last thing, I'm unicycling around the world to raise money for LearnServe International. This is a charity local to Washington, D.C. that teaches youth about global and social entrepreneurship, mentoring them to put off their own social ventures to change the world and society around us. I believe in the power of young people to create change in the world, and I hope you do too. If you want to consider giving, check the link in the description below. I want to thank my Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. I also want to give a special thank you to Mary Fugate, Sarah Adams, Opal Wright, Clayton Byrne, Lyle Spain, and Cody Brandon. Thank you so much for making all this possible.